Meanwhile, a lot of folks consider it the holy grail of tax deductions, the mortgage interest tax deduction. But at a time of record deficits and runaway debt, many economists and politicians even are saying it's time to make it go away. Paul Ryan's budget plan, which just passed the House, eliminates it. President Obama's own deficit commission said it's a tax break we cannot afford. So is now the time to kill it for once and all? Joining us now, Dolly Lenz, Vice Chairman of Prudential Douglas Elliman, and Scott Hodge, the President of the Tax Foundation. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Scott, I'm going to start with you, buddy. Can we afford a $100 billion mortgage deduction? Now, I got to tell you, I realize this is important to a lot of people, $2,000 per household. But can we afford it at a time we have $14 trillion in debt?
Look, Jerry, I benefit from it, as do about 35 million other taxpayers. But the real basic issue here is that we need to eliminate the mortgage interest deduction while we're undergoing fundamental tax reform. So the idea here is to lower rates while you're eliminating this unjustified tax deduction. And a lot of economic research has showed that the mortgage interest deduction really doesn't encourage home ownership. In fact, it has led to some of the economic and mortgage problems that we're having today. Wow. Along with, say, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, it's encouraged a lot of people to buy homes that they really can't afford. And so
let's take these on one at a time. I want to turn to Dolly now. Can we afford this when government debt is through the roof?
You know, I think we're going to have to afford it one way or the other. Either we're going to pay for it in terms of a tax deduction where everyone takes it off their own taxes, or we're going to foreclose on a lot more homes, and we're going to pay for it that way. So we're going to pay for it one way or the other. It's just a question of what's more palatable. Keeping people in their homes. People who go out to purchase a home, especially in this shaky market, are looking for whispers of a tax increase or a decrease of not being able to deduct. If we do this, I think the market will absolutely sink.
All right. So, you know, we heard last week, I had somebody on the show that said prices will go down 25% if the mortgage interest deduction is taken away. Let's look at some numbers around this deduction. 35 million Americans claimed that mortgage deduction last year. $77 billion were saved on taxes. That works out to about $2,200 per household, so it's not nothing. Scott, to you, you know, you look at the entire world, we're the only people out there with the mortgage interest deduction as far as I know it. Most of the advanced economies don't have one, and they often have higher rates of home ownership. You look at a number of countries, Ireland, for example, Portugal, on and on and on, especially in Europe. You see higher rates of home ownership. Is the mortgage deduction really doing what it was promised to do?
No, it isn't, Jerry. In fact, Canada to our north doesn't have a mortgage interest deduction, has the same level of home ownership. Australia is another one, same issue. And what economists find is that those countries that do have it don't seem to see the same as much home ownership being generated by it. But what they do find is that it tends to benefit upper income households. And so about 70% of the benefits from the mortgage interest deduction go to high income households, not the poor. And so it really, from many respects, is an equity issue. We're giving a tax subsidy to people who probably don't need it.
Well, Dolly, to that point, is it an equity issue?
Oh, I don't think it's an equity issue at all. I think it's a market issue. I mean, where are we? The real estate market is facing so many headwinds. I mean, every possible headwind. Nothing has been able to prop it up yet, right? Everything in the kitchen sink has been thrown at it. Now you're going to just turn all the way around and say, no, now you can't even deduct your interest anymore. That's it. Or your real estate taxes or any other deductions. I mean, I think it's an absolute disaster. The whisper of it is a disaster. You know,
because you're already seeing people talk about it in the marketplace.
Absolutely, yes.
What about that, Scott? I mean, when you say it only benefits wealthy Americans, I think Americans all across the country use it, and use it at different levels of income. I mean, home ownership happens all over it's only in the big markets where, frankly, the journalists who write about this are, where it's difficult for people with a median income to buy.
Well, again, 70% of the tax benefits go to those earning over $100,000 a year. But the real economic benefits go to the realtors and the home builders, because the home mortgage interest deduction is baked into the price of the house.
What about first-time home buyers who will never be able to enter the marketplace? Their American dream, everything they've ever wanted. What about them?
Again, the price of housing is inflated.
Will drop 25% and therefore they'll go in? Is that what you're saying?
And then it'll be more affordable to low-income people because the home mortgage interest deduction is baked into the price of the goods.
And the home builders will all go bankrupt, and everyone selling a home now will go bankrupt.
Do you think
And
that
that's
the
why-
impact
and that's
on the
why you're
market,
seeing-
Scott, do you think the impact on the market will be that big if we take away the deduction?
25% is a killer.
It will go down. There's no doubt about it. But we're also looking at on the flip side is that low-income people will be able to afford homes that they cannot.
The low-income
purchase
people we
today.
hurt the most.
Dolly, I want to take you to this question, though. There's been a lot of debate in this country about the amount of government intervention in the housing market. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, it hasn't worked out. Should we take it all away? Let's take away the deduction. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, let's turn it over to the private sector. Isn't that a great solution?
I'm for a tax overhaul, a complete tax overhaul. Let's do what Hong Kong does. In Hong Kong, you take a postcard, you file your tax return, you pay 15% of your income, you send it in. There's no incentive for cheating or playing or anything else.
Flat tax.
Flat tax, low tax. Let's do that. I'm totally
And no deduction.
I'm totally up for that. No deduction of any kind.
All right, but it has to be even-handed, is your point.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Dolly and Scott, thanks for your help today. Really appreciate it. Interesting information. It's a huge debate. And, of course, so many Americans out there relying on that deduction and hoping that it stays.